Val Nichols here, coming at you live. And I am here to talk to you today about why you have a crappy money mindset and how it affects you in your life and your business. Why I want to share about this is because it is so important. I don't have a single client currently or in the past that's come to me that doesn't have some sort of money mindset. Oh, Zabdi, yes, see, so she knows, yes, like losing your mom, I can't imagine. I have not lost my mom yet, and she's still living, but I can just imagine how hard it is. I have a client who's I don't want to like break her anonymity or tell her story, but she lost her parent at a young age. And I was really thinking about her yesterday, like, wow, that's gotta be really hard. Especially when there's so much of it in your face, So when we talk about money mindset, there is so much involved in this, you guys. And here's the reason why it's so important to really look at and understand that, one, you most likely have a money mindset block in your life. Two, it's not your fault. And three, you're not broken. Sorry, not sorry, you're not broken, right? Like, sorry, not sorry, you're not broken. The good news is you can absolutely 100% change that. So hang with me because we're going to talk more about that. And, this is like how money mindset shows up. It's so important especially if you're in the online space, especially if you have a business, because money mindsets will block you. And it's said that the way you do one thing is how you do everything. Well, your money mindset will show up all over the place. It shows up in the way you interact. It shows up in whether you show up or you don't show up. Whether you show up or not is 100% dictated by your money mindset. It also shows up in relationships. Just take a look at your closest relationships. And I'll share an example with you guys. When I was younger, I've always been I was going to say I was very driven, but that hasn't gone away. So I would be like not telling the truth if I said that. So I've always been driven. And I remember a time when I was bartending and I was making a ton of money. Like I was bartending in downtown Portland, Oregon. And I would, each night I would be raking in like several hundreds of dollars, right? And so what ended up happening was I would literally on a night off, I would be sitting there resentful, calculating how much money I could be making, right? Like my priorities were very off at that point, very off. And so I would be sitting there, like, let's say on a date, or I would be going out with my girlfriends, and I would be calculating how much money I was missing out on by not being at work. Like, if you want to say that I had a workaholic problem, that would not even be like touching the surface of what was going on for me. But the thing was, I had such a money mindset block, like, and I think this happens a lot for people who've grown up without money. We somehow learn how to equate, we translate our worth as our financial income, right? So like when you don't grow up with money, you end up somehow believing that your worth is equated to your income, or some money in the bank, or this could be a number on the scale, whatever that is for you. It's like it can show up in so many different ways. And it affects relationships. It affects, and like, for me, like in my 20s, when I was doing that, when I was making a lot of money and then I would be resentful when I wasn't, like that definitely affected my relationships because I would be like grumpy. I would feel like all of my identity and my self-worth was based upon something outside of myself. Does that make sense for you guys? Like it was all based upon something outside of me, outside of who I was. When we talk about money mindset, the reason why this is so important is because it absolutely 100% will show up in your business. It shows up in what you're charging. It shows up in what you're asking and what you value your worth for. Because like, for example, I was on a call with a woman a couple days ago that I think she's coming to work with me, thank goodness, because she was telling me we were diving deeper into her business, and we got to that really scary, very, you know, touchy subject of, okay, so what do you charge? I asked her, like, what are you charging currently? And when she told me her prices, I was kind of like, and I felt a little bad because she was pretty proud that she was making a couple $100 a week, you know, and I was like, honey, that is not enough. That is not enough, because what she was doing was you know, she was looking for cash flow immediately, like cash to come in her business, which is great. And this is absolutely what I recommend. If you're looking for that cash flow, is to do one-on-one coaching. If you're a coach, or, you know, create some sort of revenue income. And the thing was, what she was charging was way below her value, because if you're a coach, let me just tell you, you know that your services are not just that hour that you're spending with your client. You're spending time researching about them, researching with them. You're spending, like, I know for me, when I take on a client, like, I'm so consumed with their business. Like, I take their business on so much that it's like, it's an extension, and we're shoulder to shoulder building their business together. My eyes are on everything they do. My eyes are on, you know, like, I know their clients. I get to know them. I get to know, you know, who their client is, so that I can speak in their language, so that I can speak to them. Like, their business, I'm so, I guess, like, I'm so, like, bought into their business that it's like an extension of me. Like, I am not just spending that 1 hour a week with them. It's so much bigger than that, right? So if you're charging like $100 a session, whew, no, it doesn't work, right? And this all equates to your money mindset. And it shows up in your life, in your business, in how you value yourself, in how you present yourself in the world. But there was a time in my life when I used to think that if I wasn't perfect, if I didn't show up with my hair and my makeup and everything looking to the nines, and like having my everything I was going to talk about bullet pointed out, and like everything perfect, if I said like too much, or if I used my hands too much, like, you guys were not going to, like, nobody was going to buy from me because I wasn't worth it. This is because I had a broken money story, which goes back so far in my life. And, you know, for those of you who've been following me for a while, you know that I grew up with a lot of scarcity, a lot of lack. I grew up in sexual abuse. I grew up with domestic violence around me. I grew up in a place where, you know, when my father was around, he had a lot of money. He was a very, like, driven salesman, a lot of money. But then next thing I know, you know, he's gone and we're poor. And there's times when we were so broke that we had to steal toilet paper. Like, that makes sense today, but like a couple years ago, that didn't really make sense, right? That didn't really make sense. And so, you know, there was a lot of shame and a lot of guilt growing up. So as a result, I was always afraid. Like, I was very high achieving in school, because I think that if I put on this look good, and if I overachieved at school and I had perfect grades and perfect attendance and all the teachers liked me, then it would be okay. I was proving my worth. But then at home, because of all the shame and the guilt that was going on, I was too afraid to bring friends home. I was too afraid to let people in. I was too afraid for people to see the real me. And that's all scarcity. That's all lack. The perfectionism, the image, all of that, like, that's a scarcity mindset, you know, and that shows up so much. I remember in my business, I would be afraid to go on Facebook Live, even on my personal page, like this page, I wouldn't go on live for probably a year into my business, this time into my business. And, you know, that was all because that scarcity and that lack and that shame and that guilt that I had piled on, you know, and years later that equated into making a ton of money in my 20s, and then losing it all and living in the backseat of my car for a period of time because of that scarcity mindset. I was too afraid to let people into what was really going on, because I was in so much fear and guilt and shame. So this absolutely, I hope you guys are connecting to that. I hope you guys are like hooking onto the fact that your money mindset shows up in every single area and every single arena of your life. Every single area. And again, the good news is that you absolutely 100% have the power to take that back. You have the power to change it, and you have the power to turn things around. It takes one decision, right? I just posted that here earlier. It doesn't take months or years. It can take one moment. All it takes is a decision. So another way that I see scarcity really showing up in the online space is, there's a lot of people out there that are entrepreneurs right now because it's the cool thing to do. It was the vibe, right? Like the entrepreneur vibe. It's cool. It's the thing to do. And, the thing is, like, I'm seeing so many of these like coaches pop up everywhere, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. Right now, before the crisis hit, it was a $4 billion industry. And now there's just not enough data to know, but like the coaching, knowledge, consulting industry is probably, during this time, has probably amped up to like $6-7 billion industry at this point. And I'm being generous with that. Like it's amped up. So, and the thing is though, I see so many coaches out there that are trying to sell a product, sell a service, do whatever. And I see this with products too. Like people are trying to sell an oil or sell a jewelry or whatever it is, like they're trying to sell something, but they're not willing to invest it in themselves. Guys, this is the biggest mindset barrier that I see block people more than anything else. If you're a coach, if you're a consultant, and if you want someone to invest in you to better themselves, and you're not investing, if you don't have a coach, if you're not investing in your growth and your spiritual development, whatever it is, do you guys see how much of a lack of integrity that is? It's a huge lack of integrity. There's just such a gap between, here and there, and there's just such a gap. So this is how the money mindset, it blocks you. It can block you. And a lot of times where this stems from, to go back to that, is it stems from things way back in our childhood, because 80% of what goes on in our subconscious mind was learned before the age of 7. Can you imagine that? As if a 7-year-old version of you is now making all of your choices. What? Oh, wow, doesn't that just blow your mind? Zabby says, wow, fear, guilt, and shame to be true self equals scarcity mindset. Yeah, it's crazy. But, with all the work I've done, this is one of the biggest things I've realized, that all of that hiding, led into my mindset, led into my scarcity mindset. And I remember I'm that generation where we can just go online and find the cheapest price. We don't have to buy whatever at whatever box store, because we can just be on Amazon it's $10 cheaper, right? But I've learned that I can't be that way in my business. When I look at my business and I look at my self-development, cheaper is not better. Believe me, I've made that mistake. I've hired coaches that I was not aligned with. I've hired coaches that I paid a lot of money that I wasn't aligned with. And what that taught me how I want to show up as a coach, and how I want to be in integrity as a coach. We have the power, a choice to control and choose how the story is going to end, how it's going to end. Because our money mindset absolutely shows up in every single area of our life, and it will block you. And there's, until you have the awareness and you take the choice to bring it back. Hey guys, thanks for watching. If you're interested in getting more information, hit subscribe below. You can also find me on my website at www.valnichols.com. I'll see you guys later. Mwah.